Sometimes in life we go along and things are going along just fine, and sometimes it's pretty good or it's just sort of average, but then something happens and things turn for the worse. There are moments in life when things just seem to turn for the worse and start going in a direction that we don't want them to. And when that happens, it can be devastating. It can be disheartening. This morning, Mike is going to share with you a story that has to do with that. So, Mike, would you come share?
Hi, my name is Mike, like PJ said. But today, I'm going to talk to you about how I was kind of stuck and lost. And I just graduated high school in June, and so this is my adult summer, my first adult summer, but I don't think I'm an adult yet, but it's okay. And when you see a guy this size, I'm a big kid, I'm a big guy, especially high school student, the first thing I always get asked, even if I've never met this person, what position do you play? That's what they always ask. What position do you play? I played right tackle for Dobie High School. That's what I did. And today we're going to talk about football. To me, football wasn't even a game anymore. It wasn't even like, you win and you lose and you got to deal with it. No, we're winning. This is more than a game. This is everything I love. This is everything I want to do. This is where I want to be. I missed a bunch. I missed family functions, scout meetings, church events for football. Football was everything. I lived, breathed. I loved it. And I was good at it. I started my whole entire high school career, freshman, sophomore, junior, I was starting and I was playing and I was on top of the football world, and I was living the dream that I always wanted as a kid. I was a little kid. When I was a little kid, I said, you know what? I want to be out there one day. I want to be in the pros. I want to make a bunch of money doing what I love to do, playing football. That's what I want. And I was on that track. We were doing great. Dobie, we kind of, I don't know if y'all know Dobie, but sometimes we have good seasons and then we don't, and then we do, and then we don't. But my junior year, we didn't have the greatest season we wanted to. We got stomped by Deer Park for the district championship. I don't even want to talk about it. I don't. And so we needed going into the next season, my last year with my team and these guys that I've been playing with since I was little bitty. We had to have role models and leaders, and me being a 4-year returner, that was my job as an offensive lineman. There was 4 of us that were seniors on the O-line, and 2 of them were 3-year returners, and I was the only 4-year returner, and then we had a guy that just moved up, and we were great. We were a team. We were, we played off each other. We helped each other out. We were great, and I knew that whenever I was down or whenever I was in trouble, I could go to these guys because it was a family. These are my best friends and my teammates. And even when times when like my grades weren't right or my parents were mad at me or things just weren't going right at home, I knew as soon as I stepped on the field and buckled that chin strap, it was all gone. It was over. All I had to do was play. Who wouldn't want to get praised for tackling a quarterback or hitting somebody? All I had to do was hit somebody and everybody was cheering and I was happy. It wasn't always like that at home, but it was it was a way to get away from things. Football was, and I had it all set. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna play high school out, have fun, and then I'm gonna go to a Christian college, either TCU or HBU. HBU is about to start a football program. That's cool. I'm just gonna play college ball, and then I'll get to the pros. That was literally that was it. I was gonna do it, and we were doing 2-a-days last summer. It was about a year ago now, exactly. We were doing 2-a-days, and it was like everything that I've ever wanted, like little kids. I don't know if some people might have played Little League football, but when you're a Little League football player, you dream of playing Friday night under the lights, in front of everybody, in front of your hometown, in front of your school. You dream about that. And this was the last year I was going to get to do it. So I was really stoked. I was really happy about this. I was like, you know what, this is it. this is the last time I'm going to have a chance to go out there and show these people that I go to school with, you know what I mean, what I put in work for. And I loved it, and it was great. 2 days were going great. The team was doing good. Practices were good. We got to the first game, and we were playing Atascocita. They destroyed us the last year. The year before that, destroyed us. It was bad. And so this year we were like, you know what, this isn't going to happen again. We're going to change something, and it's going to start here. It's going to start on the offensive line. Like, we were so pumped, we were ready, and we were warming up, and we were hitting each other, and we were just going at it, you know, and we're getting the game. Like, I'm starting to get in the game atmosphere right now. I don't even know. Like, you're getting ready to go. Like, you're ready to just hit. You're ready to just pound and have fun with it. And then, you know, so Coach Freeman was the coach at the time. He came up from the freshman team, and because our coach left, Coach Minus, he went back to school. And so the freshman coach kind of moved up, and he was the varsity offensive lineman coach. And he's like, hey, guys, you know, starting O-line, why don't y'all sit down and get some water? You know, let's let these younger kids get some reps, you know, some workouts. And so the sophomore and junior line went in there. All the seniors got taken out. And you kind of like, if you were to look around the field at that time, all the seniors got taken out from every position kind of and told to sit down and let other kids practice and get ready. So then I was like, okay, all right, yeah, I understand the kids, they want to get a chance to, at the time I was like, act like they're going to play, you know what I mean? Like, of course they're not going to play. But so we went back into the locker room, and the locker room is the situation, like, this is where it's like no talking. Like, you're focused, like your mind is just, I mean, focusing on plays, focusing on steps, focusing on everything. It's when you get in the zone. And then Coach Freeman walked in the locker room after doing a coaches meeting, and he's like, O-line, come over here. So the whole O-line went over there, and he's like, look, tonight we're going to go ahead and let the underclassmen start. So I was like, do you know who we're playing? Like, I didn't say that to him, of course, but I was like, okay, that's fine. You know, fine. Y'all want to let the underclassmen start? Me and all my senior buddies, we were like, oh, this is funny. This guy's going to lose his job soon because he's putting in a whole bunch of guys that don't know how to play and haven't been in the shoes that we've been in. And so it was like that. All 4 seniors didn't get to play that first game. And at first it was kind of funny, like a joke. Like, it was like, really? Okay, that's fine. It really started to set in like week 4. Like a 4th game of the season. That's when it really started to set in that we weren't going to get to play. And it was kind of mind-blowing almost, because we'd built these, I mean, it got to the point where like we'd go to practice and the coaches wouldn't talk to us. They wouldn't even look at us because they knew they took that away from us. And it wasn't just me, there was 17 returning starters that didn't get to play because they gave up. My dad was, that's probably the best thing that me and my dad get along about is football. And so he was mad too. And so he went and talked to the head coach, and he's like, you know, after watching last season and what the juniors did when they moved up to seniors, we decided that we were going to focus on the underclassmen so that we can have a good team the next couple of years. So they gave up on our class. Class of 2013 at Dobie High School football program, they gave up on it. They didn't let the seniors play. We had a really good quarterback, didn't let him play. I mean, he luckily, he plays baseball and he still got a chance to go to college on scholarship for sports, but we weren't all like that. You know, all these dreams, all these hopes, everything I've ever wanted as a kid and as a high school player, it was taken away. It wasn't that I didn't go to practice, because I was at practice. I loved practice. I loved hitting the guys that I'm in class with because they make me mad sometimes in class. So we get to hit those guys. That's fun. That's better than hitting another team. But I love practice. I didn't miss a single practice that year, man. We didn't lose the opportunity to play football. It was taken from us. And those were the hardest months of my life. Hardest. I mean, it was crushing, because any little kid that plays football, that's what they're supposed to dream about. That's what you're supposed to want to be. You want to be great. You have to want to be great, because if you don't want it, you're not going anywhere. You have to want to get better, and that's only done by being on the field and playing. and getting better every single step. And without being on the field, you go nowhere. So it wasn't only wrecking my high school career in football, it ruined the chance of me ever playing college. Because, I had film from my junior year, but I didn't have any film from my senior year. No college recruits are okay with that. Our chances were blown. It was gone. Football was taken away from me and my friends. And I was lost. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go. And I was stuck. Thanks.
So any of us who have ever experienced having something just taken from us, or feeling like it's been taken from us, it's, as he said, it's crushing. Any of us who have experienced the failure of a marriage know that feeling of feeling crushed. Any of us who have lost a business because it went bankrupt, we know the feeling of having something that we thought was wonderful turning out to not be so wonderful. When life takes a turn that we don't expect, it can leave us with a lot of questions, one of them being, is there any kind of a future? And the people of Israel found themselves in a very similar place. The people of Israel had been brought into the promised land, and they had been made a people, and they were formed into this group that was living as God had wanted them to live under the kingship of King David. Things were going pretty well, and under Solomon, the country grew in power and in stature. But then things turned. And by the time we get to the time when Jeremiah was prophet, we find that things had really turned out badly. The Assyrians had come from the north and overtaken the northern part of Israel. And that was in about the 8th century BC. And then about 200 years later, the Babylonians came and overtook and conquered the southern part of Israel. And when the Babylonians did that, what they did was they took all of the people who were the best and brightest living in Israel, and they took them back to Babylon. That way it weakened Israel to the point that they couldn't reorganize and get strong again. And not only that, but the Babylonians destroyed the temple and annihilated a lot of the infrastructure that was present in Israel. Can you imagine being in Israel at that time, watching all of these people who were leaders in the community leave, being taken, being left with just rubble and shambles? It had to have been devastating. And then to be the people that were taken into exile had to be a horrible thing too, because you're taken from the land that was yours, and you're living now in a strange land with strange culture. What happens a lot of times in Scripture, what we see happen is that when the people of God experience these kinds of times, when things kind of go badly, what God does is he raises up prophets who speak. And so a prophet comes and speaks, not necessarily with feedback, but come and they speak. And they say things, and they offer words, and they say, this is what has happened, this is how we got here, and this is where we're headed. And so Jeremiah, he has these things to say, and Kelly and Mackenzie read from this in chapter 29. It says, "These are the words of the letter that the prophet Jeremiah sent from Jerusalem, where everything was annihilated, to the remaining elders among the exiles, to the people that were in Babylon." And what he tells the people, he tells them a number of things. He gives them sort of an action plan for what they should do. In the wake of all of this change that they didn't want to have happen, having everything go badly, and now they're left feeling kind of crushed, he gives them an action plan. And among other things, he says this in verse 5. He says, "Build houses and live in them. Plant gardens and eat what they produce." His action plan for these people who had experienced all of this tragedy was to plant gardens. He also says in verse 11, he says, "For surely I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, plans for your welfare and not for harm, to give you a future with hope. The promise of God that was given to the people was that there is a plan, and it is good. It is a plan for their welfare and not for their harm. Plant gardens. Several weeks ago, we received pumpkin seeds. And the idea was that we would take these pumpkin seeds and we would take them home and we would plant them and we would grow pumpkins. And then the pumpkins that we grow, we would come and we would bring them to the church and we would put them in our pumpkin patch. And my little scheme is that eventually one day we would grow so many pumpkins as a church that we wouldn't have to buy pumpkins from New Mexico anymore. And so I took my pumpkin seeds, but I have to tell you, when I got my pumpkin seeds and I looked at them, I thought about them, and I looked at them with a fair amount of skepticism because I had tried to grow pumpkins before. I had actually began to grow a pumpkin. I got really excited about it. It was one that Hannah and I had grown together. I even took a picture of it and I showed it in a sermon. Some of you might have seen that picture. I preached about, I don't even remember what I preached about, but anyway, I preached and I had this pumpkin plant and I went home, and the next day the plant was dead. So I'm not sure what God was trying to tell me other than maybe that I'm not a very good gardener. So the pumpkin plant died. So I tried it again a few months later with some more seeds, and I kind of got it to grow, but then I forgot about them and I didn't water them and they died. And so this time when I got these pumpkin seeds just a few weeks ago, I held them and I knew that I had failed in the past to really get them to grow, but I was determined that this time I was not going to let that happen. And so I looked at those seeds, and you know, when you think about seeds are really about potential. When we plant seeds, we are investing in the future. We are investing with faith in an outcome we hope to have happen later. But a seed is basically potential. And so I held my seeds thinking about the potential. And I was fueled by this desire to grow better pumpkins than Curtis. And so I planted my seeds. I planted 5 plants, and one of them immediately died. Another one of them got eaten by something. I'm not sure, worms or something ate it. And I had 3 left. And I've been watering them just every day, and I go out there and I talk to them and I tell them I love them, and I think about them. I even pray for my pumpkins. Last week I had to go to a leadership conference in Arkansas, and when I got home late last night, I walked in the house, I went through the house to the back door, I went into the backyard to check on my plants. And I can tell you that I have 3 beautiful plants that are so much stronger looking than anything Curtis Mathis will grow. Seeds need to be sown. And when they get sown and stuff doesn't happen, we sow more seeds. And when stuff doesn't happen, we sow more seeds. What God tells people who are in a position where things didn't turn out the way that they wanted them to, they didn't go the way they thought they were going to go, He says, plant a garden. Because I have a plan, and it's a good plan, and it's a future with a hope. So we are given an opportunity to plant seeds every day. And if we plant seeds in faith and we trust God to do what God can do, what only God can do, then we have a future with a hope. Mike has more of his story that he can tell.
So, upon graduation, there's a lot of decisions to be made, choices. What are you going to do in college? What are you going to be? Where do you want to go? And I was real confused because, like I said, football was taken away. No scholarship was given. Nobody even like called me or talked to me. In my junior year, I had phone calls. My senior year, I didn't. But it was tough because everything I ever wanted was gone, and so I had to find something else to do. And so I was pretty set. Like I was like, you know what? I love U.S. history, so let's get paid. I should get paid to do something I love to do, and I want to be a football coach so I could change kids' lives so that they don't have to experience what I experienced. So that was my goal. But I said that to everybody, like, oh, what are you going to do? You know, you're graduating high school. Like, where do you plan to go? Oh, I want to be a teacher and a football coach. Like, oh, yeah, cool. No, I wasn't like, I was saying it, but I wasn't like, let's do it. Like, this is what I want. So I was real confused, and I was taking a lot of time, and had my mom, my dad, like, oh, you should do this, or you should get like a full-time job and just wait a year, or just like, it was all kinds of crazy ideas. And I had people from the church here that I really, really trust, like Paige and Austin, and they're like, no, you need to go right now, she must have told me like 100 times, go work at HEB because they're comfortable with your hours and you can work and go to school and go to church. So they were like it was all kinds of crazy. And I finally found some peace. I went to 2 straight church camps, district camp and then UM Army. At district camp, I'd been there before, and so I knew what I was getting myself into, and I went, and that's what I got out of it, what I knew I was going to get. So, I mean, it was fun, but at the end of the week, I was like, all right, it's time to go home. I'm ready to go home. I'm okay with that. So we went home on Friday, and then we left Sunday to go to UM Army. And it was my first UM Army ever, and it was my last opportunity to go as a student. So I was still a student, but it was my first ever one because I'd never gone before. And it was crazy. It was amazing. It was fun, inspiring. It was more than just building a wheelchair ramp for someone who couldn't get out of their house. It was more than hammering nails. It was more than screwing nails. It was more than anything we were doing physically. It was life-changing to not only these people, but to us. You know, the guy that helped our site, he came out and he was talking to us and stuff, and he's like, so let me get this straight. Y'all paid to come to this camp to work on my house. And we were like, yes. And he was like, why would anyone do that? Like, we had to pay money to go work on his house, and that's something he couldn't understand. And that's what we did. And it was fun, and it was hard, and it was crazy because, you know, the lady that we built the ramp for, she hadn't been out of her house in a really, really long time. Because they already had a ramp, but it was like so steep, like a Hot Wheel would have broke the speed limit going down it. It was steep. It was very fast, and no one was strong enough to take her down it and hold her because the wheelchair would just start going. So we replaced it, and that week it was so fun, and so it felt like I was home. Like, this is where I should be. Like, I want to do this forever. On Friday, when we like stopped working and said bye and stuff like that to get ready to go home Saturday, I was like, I don't want to go home. I might take a day off and then start working again Monday, but I don't want to go home. I don't want to stop doing this. And so, unfortunately, everybody has to go home and back to the people that love you. So I did. And I was faced with these decisions and these choices that I still hadn't made that I needed to make soon, because if not, I'm behind schedule and everything's getting crazy. So it took a while. It took probably about a month of praying and thinking and talking and just coming up to church and being here and working VBS and all kinds of stuff, you know, to get me to finally say it. And they say that this is the hardest thing to do going into this job is to actually say, this is what I want to do with my life. And the first person I told was Paige and Austin, and it was up in the youth wing. And I was just thinking, I was just like, you know what, guys, I want to do ministry. Like, I want to go into ministry, and then it opens up a crazy horizon. You could do children's ministry, youth ministry, PJ ministry. I don't even know what it's called. What, ordainedness? Yeah. So there's a bunch of things you can do, and so, you know, as soon as I told Paige that, she like, let's go. She hit the ground running. She texted PJ or Pastor John. Sorry, I don't know. I'm used to calling him that, but she texted him before I even got a chance to even tell him what my ideas were, and they were texting back and forth, and everything was great. So we sat down, had a meeting with him, and I made the decision that I want to go to school and get my bachelor's, and upon that, I want to go into seminary and go through that road and all, because there's two paths you have to take. You have to get your education and you have to go through the church in a certain way. And so I'm going to start taking both steps, and so I can work towards my goal of becoming an ordained minister and doing pre-J ministry. So.
Seeds have been sown in Mike's life for a long time, throughout his whole life. His parents were sowing seeds in his life. This church has sown seeds into his life, scouting ministry. He learned things all along. And now we are seeing how those seeds are growing in a whole new way, in a way that we didn't expect, that he might not have expected. This is a church that sows seeds. It's been sowing seeds ever since it got started. Sometimes we see things grow. Sometimes we haven't seen things grow. But we have kept sowing seeds. There is a future with the hope. God has a plan for good things. Thanks be to God. Amen.